Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Is that the thing, right? These are the things that we do. Good morning. I am Jackie Glass, Mama Navy Vet Certified Doer. I'm the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. Good morning. Good morning. We got a lot today. So, I'm going to pack it in. I got a lot to share today. Actually, what we're going to go through today was asked of me. I told y'all, if y'all just ask me to, hey, can you talk about this or that? I'm going to do it. So I had a college student ask me, like, what's up with this intel thing with the president and um, all of that? Like, what does this even mean? I don't even understand it. So we're going to walk through that. So if you're interested in that, that's what our topic is today. But I wanted to go through a couple things that we got going on this weekend. Good morning, Jose. I hope I said it right. Good morning. I got a couple things I want to go through. So Saturday, if you're interested, is Democratic breakfast. They do that at Boss Queens at 9 a.m. Usually the electeds are there just, talking their heads off this Saturday. Sunday, actually, if Sunday is Grandparents' Day, y'all. Okay. I'm just saying this out loud. Grandparents' Day is coming up. If you still have grandparents, which I do not have any living grandparents, but Grandparents' Day is Sunday. The Botanical Gardens is hosting a Norfolk or just a Grandparents' Day at the Botanical Gardens from 1 to 4. So if you're interested in that, that is a beautiful thing coming up this week. Got it? Super cool, right? Like, let's go. Next week, we're supposed to be in special session. I have no idea whether or not that's happening, but I'll let y'all know as soon as I do. I'm trying to make sure that y'all have all that I have going on next week. Actually, am I doing nope. Let's see. Oh, there's an event. Okay, so there's an event next Wednesday. It's called the State of Youth Voices. So if you're interested in doing things with the youth, good morning, Mr. Little. The State of Youth Voices, it's happening at the Chrysler Museum at 5:30. There'll be like table talks. So if you're interested in that, Teams with a Purpose is the organization that typically does that. Also, there is an event called Super Word 7, a community conversation with the city of Norfolk. That is going to be happening at, let me verify the time, at 7 o'clock on Wednesday as well. So you got a couple things going on this week that could be interesting. So I'm going to, I think, leave that at that. Leave that at that so we can get into this more to do this morning, because I know y'all want to hear. I'm going to a returning citizens luncheon this weekend too, next weekend, which should be cool. Last but not least, I'll go into Sunday. There's going to be a voter education forum at Yosemite Community Fellowship. So if you're interested in that, that's a whole thing too, right? So there's a couple things. If you got something going on this weekend or this week that you want me to share out loud, just drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. I'll share it, but you got to let me know so I can let the people know. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. All right. So here we go. Again, good morning. Morning Dew for certified doers just like you, because that's what we do. We get up and we get at it. I was speaking with one of the practicum students in my office, and I was telling them, hey, we do this thing called the Morning Dew, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I know. And I was like, well, if ever y'all got a topic you want me to talk about, you need to let me know. And so she said, what is this thing with the president and Intel and chips and things like that? And I said, cool. I'll figure it out and we'll go ahead and talk about it. So that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing today. I will have a little glossary for you for some of the things I think y'all might need to, that you might need to know. Make sure I got it. Got it. Do I have everything? I have everything. Todas las cosas. All right. So, hold on. Let's see where we're at. Where are we? All right. But if you got events, go ahead and throw them in there. All right. So, good morning. Okay, we're going to break this down about how two connected things. why the US is going to own 10% of Intel, and also just what the Chips and Science Act is. There's no drama here today. There's just facts. That's all I got for y'all is fact today. So what happened? Quick down and dirty version, the Trump administration announced that they were going to do this deal for the US to buy 9.9% of Intel by turning this planned government support. And I don't know if y'all know this, is like we give grants to big companies. This as incentives sometimes, as incentives to come to the US and do their business, right? So what happens is we were supposed to buy into them to get ownership, to get stock shares. Intel says the government is a passive owner and not a board seat owner. So that means that we're just going to have a small ownership and not a seat at the table. We'll have a seat at the profits, but not the seat at the table. And so there's this thing called a 5-year warrant. And if you know what a warrant is, drop it in the comments. I'm going to tell you what a warrant is anyway, but if you know what a warrant is, drop it in the comments. Anybody know what a warrant is? There's a 5-year warrant. 5-year warrant. No, it's not something you do when you knock on people's doors. A warrant is this special option to buy stock later under certain conditions. So we have a 5-year, like we have a special option to buy stocks 5 years later if certain conditions are met. Okay, that's an option to buy more shares of Intel later if there's a factory cost. Why does this matter? This is the important part, okay? The important part is Intel is trying to rebuild its US chip factories. These are called foundries. So foundries are these places where they build chips and they can build chips for themselves or build chips for anyone else. Chips are important, y'all, because chips they're in our cars, they're in our computers, they're in AI, they're all these different things, right? So they want to bring this to America so that we can make more advanced chips at homes. Now, these supporters of this say that equity means that taxpayers, that's your money, taxpayers share of the upside. If that means that we get a share of the upside if the turnaround works, right? That we should. And critics say that, this is risky because the government is essentially choosing who wins in this competition, right? Who wins and who doesn't win. So let me break down the CHIPS Act for context, right? Just for context, the CHIPS Act, it's called the Chips and Science Act. It was passed back in 2022. It's a law that gives tax breaks, right? So we've got this law that gives tax breaks to chip factories and to factories, to folks that have chip factories or do research in America. So we're less dependent on overseas supplies. The people who run the CHIPS Act, who run the program, it's run by the U.S. Department of Commerce through it's called NISTs for Chips in America. That's just a federal office that manages all the money and all the rules. So in short, the CHIPS Act gave like $309 billion in incentives to build these or expand chip factories or foundries in America. About $11 billion for research and development and for workforce development, including that National Semiconductor Technology Center. It also gave a 25% tax credit, right? A credit to these folks to lower the cost of building and expanding chip plants and equipment, right? Because they're trying to get them to do it back here. And then these companies can apply for these incentives right through the government. When it became law, it was signed in August of 2022. And the program, it's about $52 billion worth of money, right? So this is what they're doing. This is what it is, trying to get people to make chips. I don't know if y'all remember during the pandemic. Tell me if you do. Give me a thumbs up if you remember during the pandemic when everybody was like, the prices of your car is about to go up because we can't make chips. The chips. Like, do y'all remember that? All the prices of cars are about to rise up because we can't make chips. It was a whole thing. So get that. Remember, today, there's no partisan. These are just facts. Now, how does Intel fit into this deal? Good morning, poetry. How does Intel fit into this deal? So instead of giving Intel these grants, because our government is good for subsidizing somebody's business. Okay. Like they talk about, I'm of the opinion of no welfare for the wealthy, but okay, that's what will be my political, no welfare for the wealthy, but we're good at incentivizing or subsidizing businesses just to get it. But we do have to have incentives to get people to come here and do the thing with the thing, right? So instead of giving them grants, they converted part of the plan support into stock. So instead of just giving them grant money, where it's like, hey, well, we're gonna buy some stock instead of giving you grant money. And that means that taxpayers, you and me, us taxpayers, we now own a slice and could potentially benefit if Intel recovers, right? Because they're telling Intel, you got to get up and you got to move over here to these United States to do your business. And that costs. So again, supporters call it a fair return. Opponent says worried that the government is now getting into business, which is a real thing because that's what's happening. The government essentially getting into plain business. I want you to keep this handy as I like roll through the next. I see a question like a short, long-term projection or like a certain business criteria. Can you see in Nort 8200? Can you tell me what you're referencing? Like when you said your question, a short or long-term projection or business criteria. Good morning, Kelly. Yep. Can you tell me what you were referencing? Plain English for everybody. Stock and equity. That's a piece of the country, the company. Foundry. That's a chip that, again, most people make. A warrant. We talked about a warrant. Option to buy, the CHIPS Act. That's that credit that they're getting. So here's what we need to watch next, right? We have to watch for transparency. We will see clear update. You know, the thing about it is will we actually see clear updates when the government might sell the shares and how it votes on big issues, right? Support is supposed to be passive. So if you now see Congress voting things to make Intel successful, that means we're rigging the system. Okay, real world milestones. Intel needs to open up the factories on time. They have to improve their yields. They have to and win customers in order for it to work. And that has nothing to do with the day-to-day stock prices, but it is real. These are real tests. The policy ripple effects for us is, do other companies get equity for grants? Are we going to do this for other companies? Does Congress add guardrails so this stays rare? This isn't a thing that now government is in. Now you're using my money to trade stocks and stuff. And business groups are already asking. People are already asking for clearer rules. Like already asking for clear rules. But I wanted to break that down to you all because, again, it was asked of me. It was asked of me to do so. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Also, like, and I got confused by this too, because I was like, how does this differ from a bailout? Because I remember when we did all this bailing out in 2008, if you remember, we did a lot of bailing out. Back then, it was a crisis response. So stakes in banks and automakers, we took stakes in banks and automakers that later unwound, right? Now it's almost like proactive industrial policy. Like, I'm going to do this before in a non-recession environment. We're not in a recession environment. It's framed as a national security tech strategy, which is a huge philosophical sort of shift in the political world. Even if the dollars are smaller, it is a complete shift of how we actually do business. Remember, we do get we got to make sure that we get reporting on voting, on exit timing, because it's like your tax dollars. I'm just saying, your tax dollars are now in the business game. And I'll say this: I am of the opinion, and a gentleman was talking to me the other day. I am trying to figure out especially with what's happening at the federal level in our money, your money, my money that we're paying into this is like, if we are not getting the same services, right? If we don't have FEMA anymore, if we don't have a board of education anymore, if we don't have all of these things that trickle down into our federal and state government that are of service to us, then why am I giving the federal government my monies. I mean, that's real. So I am thinking about making sure I keep all my money exemptions. I don't keep all my money and put it to the side because I'm not interested right now in giving the United States a loan. Right? Because when you overpay, when you talk to tax folks, when you you take the maximum amount of taxes out of your check each year, and then at the top of the year you file your taxes and you get so much money back. That was essentially you loaning the United States that money for that period of time, and they're like, oh, we took too much, here you go, have that back, right? I usually try to just break even. That has been my MO, and just break even, pay a little, or get a very little back. Because I don't like what's happening. That's my personal opinion. I don't like what is happening when we have a sitting president that's turning into a bit. Now there's precedence for this, but this is complete shift of what happens to your tax dollars. Again, we've had bailouts, we've had these sort of things, but this is I don't know. I I see it as a gateway to some other things. I also don't trust the president as a businessman. That's it. Like I don't trust him as a business person, and that's real. That's my opinion based off of the history that we've seen. So, but this is not, like I said, this is not a partisan thing. I just wanted to explain the intel thing, that the things for you all to watch next. I'm saying this out loud for you to watch. Watch the guardrails, watch for transparency. Do we get public reporting on voting, exit timing, and warrant triggers, right? And I'll answer the question about the description of the warrant in a second. We need to make sure that we're paying attention to intel milestones, because that is now your tax dollars involved in this. Yields progress, customers wins for the foundry. Remember, I said the foundry is the chip factory. This is going to be like a scoreboard for you as a taxpayer, not just a share price. Like, you have to track that financial press, or somebody has to, for us saying like, this is going to be the scoreboard. Are you making the money? And then the policy thread, the scope creep of policy. Will other people, this is the biggest question, is will other firms start to see equity for grants proposal? Will other folks, and a lot of people in the market, in the financial market, are saying, yeah, you're going to start people saying like, hey, start having companies that are saying, yeah, we don't want a grant. How about we give you some equity, these United States equity, so that we can do X, Y, and Z. In Congress, watching Congress, I would expect hearings or oversight pushes when lawmakers return, right? So they're back. Even among the CHIP Act supporters, people who are weary of ownership stakes. Right? Because that could go anyway. This is not a new thing. Remember, I said it is a philosophical shift in how we typically do business. So if you like the idea, like if you presently like the idea of owning upside tech, like if you upside tech means tech that's on the rise. If you like the idea of you owning it, then you probably think this is amazing. If you worry about government steering companies, then one way or another, right, putting their finger on the scale, then you might call it risky. Both can be true. I will keep an eye out on the things that I understand, the milestones, the money, and the guardrails, which I think is super important. My best bet to you is to say, keep your eye on the ball on this one. It is different. It's different. So it says long tone short. So I'm going back to the questions. Any questions, drop them in the comments. Anything you have going on, drop them in the comments. Like a short, long term or certain business criteria. So what am I trying to get at? Where am I at? I'm trying to get back to a warrant Yeah, sure. Yeah, short, long-term projection or certain business criteria. Certain conditions, it depends on what the conditions is. So he asked what a warrant is because we have a 5-year special warrant with this deal, which means that we have this special option to buy more equity or more stock, right? We can get more ownership we can get more ownership in Intel if certain conditions are met. And I imagine it's certain business conditions. I didn't actually look up what those conditions were. So I know that I don't have a great answer for what that is or what that could look like. Any other questions about warrants, about foundries, about uh, all of this? Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, uh, I guess what I'll say is, as I was looking at the cases for and against, some of the information I got at a case for us buying into Intel and a case for us against, um, some say that are for it, and this is just for you to shape whatever your thought process is. Some of the things I read that talked about folks that were for were saying, hey, look, this has taxpayer alignment. So instead of pure grants, equity gives the public a shot at returns if they execute. Some say it's like a capacity insurance. So what that means is it means a stronger domestic factory or factory for building chips or building for others. Because remember, during the pandemic, when they were like car production went down because we didn't have chips. They say that this is a resilience against geopolitical stocks, meaning stuff happening, other geopolitical shocks. When stuff happens in other places that typically builds this stuff, and it helps us because sometimes there are supply chain chokeholds, right? And that prevents us from having those things like we did back in the pandemic with that. Some proponents, people that are for it, say, it's a signal to the market. That means that the stake can buy time for Intel build out, so that states, excuse me, like Arizona and other U.S. sites, and that it's like we're turning around the narrative about the financial incentive on this. They think it's a good signal to the market that you can buy now. But the people that are against it, again, I don't know. You can write. I'd love for you to drop in the comments whether you're for this or you're against this, how you feel about it. Love to hear like where the folks in the chat stand on this. So the case against it says that it's a precedent and it's politicization. So the critics are like, the government ownership can put pressure on companies to make decisions like where they build, who they hire, when they cut, based on politics and not on efficiency. And business groups and analysts flagged. They've already said there are not clear rules on this compared to past crisis issues. Like we don't have the same sort of guardrails that we had in the past. Other folks that are against it say like this is a moral hazard, and we are picking winners. That if firms expect equity bail-ins, right? Because that's what it is. It's equity bail-in. That discipline weakens, right? Their discipline on what they do might weaken. Any capital that any capital that could flow through the lobby strength, they can flow through who lobbies and not necessarily performance. And that these people who believe in free market on the right or the center have already raised this, right? Like the center right and right are like, look, free market, y'all messing with the ability to have a free market over here. So what are you even doing? Another piece of it is like I think the Wall Street Journal noted that the warrant was tied to the foundry. I mean, the foundry is the chip factories. The warrant that's tied to the foundry could complicate the strategy if Intel ever needs to restructure how they manufacture, right? That the way we're doing this. And that lastly, it's a slippery slope. Some people fear that this expands beyond chips. Members of Congress and commentators across the spectrum have voiced discomfort with the broader state stakes idea, right? Like it's a thing. And I love, like, again, in the comments, tell me where your head is. I love this. Sue's like, I'm still learning. Me too, still learning. But I think it's something that we don't understand it. We don't pay too much attention to it. It just becomes a headline, and they become a talk. You just kind of have to trust the talking heads that are doing what they are saying, the things that you need to hear. But it's important that we sort of dig in. Okay, C. North says, how can we use knowledge of foundries to support VA? North Carolina has the sand of high enough silica content for a chip production. So the East Coast is the best location of Intel moves. I mean, I think that goes into what I said about the sort of politicization of it, like because right now we're in a position where the government can pressure some decisions, and I don't see them not, like where to build, right, who to hire, and where to cut. So the best thing I would say for foundries, and again, if you're just joining us, foundries are factories that make chips for, or sometimes make chips for other folks. And the chips, everybody know what the chips are, right? The little computer chips that are in all of our stuff and things. The chips sit in cars, you name it, right? You name it. So I would say that's probably a question I would have for, I would definitely tap into maybe our federal partners on it. Because like I said, this move that we're unpacking, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. So we're all walking this sort of understanding together. And again, my apprehension comes from, I'm not necessarily really trusting of the sitting president as a businessman. So I'm really like digging in a sense of like, what does this actually mean for us? I can also go through what actually happened, right? Like what actually happened. So Sunshine Lady says, Intel companies produce carbon in our community. Excess carbon is bad. I hear you on that, right? There are some other environmental factors that come along with this. I imagine this year y'all will be having a lot of big conversations about not just chip factories, but data centers, because those are things that are coming up. So if you, like I said, I'll wrap things up here. Like it's a lot to hold in hands. There's so much going on, but remember what actually happened on the 22nd. We acquired its 9.9, almost 10% stake in Intel. We bought 433 million new shares at $20.40 a piece, about 8.9 billion total. And Intel has confirmed that. That's what we did. The deal includes that 5-year warrant, right? That option to buy more in 5 years for an additional 5%. If Intel, this answers C. Nord's question. My apologies. So if Intel were to lose the majority control of its foundry, of its manufacturing unit, if they were to, so that is the condition. Intel has described the government's role as passive, like no board seat, no voting, with limited expectations. So it's a passive role, and if they lose, we can buy more, but we can buy more shares at additional 5% if Intel were to lose the majority control of their factory. That's the conditions by which we can do that. For follow-through purposes, the CFO, the chief financial officer of Intel, said that over $5 billion of cash, worth $5.7 billion worth of cash has already arrived in Intel's account as part of the arrangement. And remember, this is funded. This purchase, right? This purchase is funded. The equity purchase is converted and distributed in CHIPS Act grants, right? That's that program I talked about. The money is already set aside to boost that money that was already set aside in 2022 to boost the U.S. semiconductor capacity, right? So the funds are stock rather than straight subsidies. And that's essentially what's happening, just for your understanding. So instead of being like, here's a grant, if we're like to a community organization, and let's say you're put it on the local level, a community org that you really like, instead of getting a grant from the city was like, well, I'm going to invest and buy, if it was a public company, I'm going to go ahead and buy, 30-20% of the shares of your company, right? Instead of just giving you a grant to do something with, right? I'm buying into your company rather than just giving you a grant to do the thing with. This is strategic. I'll say that, right? Like, it is strategic, and there is a piece of this that has a lot to do with national security. The stated goal, what was said, was that the U.S. Has to shore up leading the edge on chip manufacturing. That chip manufacturing, I have to say this, as we move into the 22nd century, right? Chip manufacturing underpins AI, defense, and a extremely broad sense of our tech economy. And the backers, we just in the backies are arguing that equity, that the equity that I'm trying to explain it aligns with taxpayer upside, with taxpayer risk, right? Like, if Intel recovers, the public gains, and that's what we're all waiting to see. Like, will Intel recover? Again, this is a huge political policy shift. It could have broader implications. That's what we need to be working on. More hands and more federal involvement in strategic sectors like chips, rare earth metals, even golden share rights in some deals. And some people say it's like, this is like state capitalism. Like state. I'm not ready. I'm already seeing what capitalism is doing to us now. And, the people who support it say, yeah, this is just the state, these states doing capitalism. Critics say it's just government overreach. Let me go to the comments, and then I'll get ready to wrap up. I see that companies seems to be becoming marginalized community. Don't trust the process. Yeah, I could understand why you don't trust the process. I can see why you don't trust the process. I asked myself why Intel, Intel was selected, because that was a big question that the student was asking, like, why do we choose Intel? Intel is the only US headquartered company still attempting to sort of lead in research and development and manufacture at scale, right? Manufacturing at scale, these chips. And it's been trying to revive the struggle. It's struggling. It's here and it's struggling because you got to pay the cost to be the boss in the United States. There's so many different things that come with it, right? You got to pay people. You got to do, and I don't want to say that's why they're struggling, but they have been struggling. They're a struggling business. So there's a new CEO that was appointed in March of 2025 this year, has been tasked with trying to turn it around. And this is what they're trying to do, right? This is what they're trying to do. But I do need you to understand that we have to keep our eye on the ball on this one. We must, because this could, again, be a huge shift on how we do business. Okay, got two more questions. Hey, Nathan, good to see you. My favorite in RHA. Chioma, good morning, Grand Rise. What are your thoughts about Harum Days' closing? It's the only state facility that is classified as skilled nursing. I can say that I don't have a clear opinion on it closing, but I can get one, right? Because I have not looked into the why it's closed. What was the history of it? I can also kind of say we have severely underfunded a lot of our facilities and are not, and I'm saying across the board, the Commonwealth. And I know that there are going to be some even harder, choices that are going to have to be made, but I hadn't heard about Hiram Davis closing. Just not in my not hasn't been in my wheelhouse, but I can look it up and see what the business was around it, and get you an opinion on it, if that helps. And if you have any information you want to add to put to my brain, go ahead. I'll take it. Good morning, Jessica. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. This is that. So that was today, just a little bit of insight on the headline that you've been hearing about. These United States and Intel know that the company was failing or is, and we're trying to bring it back, and we're trying to get in the race on chips, and you now own stock in Intel. It's the truth, you do. All right. Any community events anybody needs me to share? Nope. All right. You be kind to yourself. You be clear with yourself. You be honest with yourself. Hopefully we get some honest reporting as it pertains to this. And if you too have a question there or comment or thing that you want me to talk about on the Morning Dew for Certified Doers, just like you, let me know. Let me know. Just put it in my inbox and I will, and I'll do it. Y'all try to make today a great day. Try to make it a great week. All right. Be well, be well, be well. Take care. See you guys next time. Oh, I would be in trouble if I didn't say, don't forget that if you believe in this work, then invest in this work. You can go to my website, deliajackyglass.com. On my Instagram, you can go to my bio and support the work, because that it is. That is his. There is no amount that is too small. And we appreciate you. All right. Adios. Au revoir. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Be well. Thank you. Oh, Carib Fest. I'm so sorry. Carib Fest needs volunteers. My apologies. Carib Fest needs volunteers. Go to caribfest.com if you want to volunteer. It's September 26th and 27th. I can do a Carib Fest down at Town Point. Needs lots of volunteers. I see that there. I got an email. I got a message in my inbox about Carib Fest needing volunteers. If you got the time, do it. She said, you just keep putting it in there. Yes, sunshine lady. All right. Take care, y'all.